So we're just waiting for Arif, the current guest for this evening. Oh, fuck. Okay, so if this is your first time listening to the Brain Collective podcast, it's basically the first time it's being made as well, so don't worry too much about the amateur nature of the... Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can. Oh, it says live.
Yeah, we're live now.
We're live on YouTube.
Yeah. So, like, anybody can see this and just hop on and be like, what up?
So it's just audio, so what are they seeing?
So they're seeing this. So usually the way that people do this is you have, like, obviously a HD webcam, and then you just film it like this. This is why we all need to get decent headsets, because we can do this, do it as a live thing, and then one of us just chop it up with iMovie or any, like, similar software later.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, my camera is off right now, so what are the people seeing?
Just a blue icon, which is your current profile picture. I don't have a webcam at the moment, so it's not showing anything for me. It's just showing my Google Plus profile picture. Whereas with you, because you don't have one, it's just a blue man in a, like you can see in the right-hand corner. But yeah, what we obviously will need to do is get HD webcams with, like, good audio pickup, and then we can literally just do it like this.
Yep, fair enough.
Which is obviously the best way, because then it's like people's voices come up and stuff, and we just obviously have to get very good at muting each other out and
fair enough.
editing it at the end.
Well, good evening, people of YouTube. Welcome to our podcast.
Welcome.
Welcome. It might not be evening where you are, so just greetings in general.
I hope one day we do look back at this and be like, God, do you remember when we started?
Yeah, remember the one that we tried in your room?
2 in the morning.
Yeah, 2 in the morning. We had to nick a chair from...
Still got that one, you know. I've put mine back there. That one's better than mine.
We have to keep it on. It's
what,
like
the chair's a symbol, man. I'm going to have this until I upgrade to, like, the mega chair. In fact, my next chair won't be a chair. It'll be a standing desk. Like, chairs are actually really bad for you, so I'm going to have a standing desk.
Fair enough.
Yeah, man. Have you seen Ty Lopez and his treadmill desk?
No.
Yeah, the guy just cannot help but be a fucking tool. Do you know what I mean? He's got a desk, right, and he's had it, like, built by, I don't know, name drop some, like, Swedish designer or something fucking retarded. And he's like, yeah, this is my treadmill desk. So instead of just sitting around all day, I'm getting exercise. I mean, that's actually a pretty good idea, to be honest. It's just that he came up with it. Oh, he was the one using it. It just annoys me. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, I know who he is. I'm sure he's not the only one to have done it.
No, of course not, but he's the only one that's, like, out there with it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh god,
but yeah, you know what? I fancy doing a bit more of a kind of web money tutor orientated podcast tonight. I'd rather, because I'm thinking at the moment of starting a dropshipping e-commerce site, you know, like as another side thing, because my logic is, because I'm running web money tutor, the one area of experience that I'm not getting, even though I'm speaking to people in these fields, is I don't have my own store to run. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not testing Facebook ads for my own company. I'm not doing, you know, active marketing for a real online commerce store. Do you know what I mean? I'm just kind of talking about it and then writing books about all of the things you do when you have one of these websites, but not actually having one myself. So I'm going to start doing, you know, like a proper pace myself with it. Let's do proper research before I go into it, that kind of a thing. But I am actually thinking of doing it on, you know, like green tea and things like that.
Okay.
So it's quite
you were saying about the matcha tea and all that.
Do you know what? I'll link the article and we'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah, link in the show notes.
I must have put it somewhere. Shopify. Yeah, because Shopify were running it was published on the 24th of June, so it's actually a pretty brand new article, but it's really interesting. For anyone who's listening The article is basically about how staff members who work at Shopify set themselves a budget of $500, and that they say in the article 3 days. Obviously, it wasn't 3 days; it was much longer than 3 days that they actually were working on this business. But in essentially 3 days of having the business open, they were able to generate $900 in revenue. So of that, 400 was profit. That's after paying off the dropshipper. That's after paying for the marketing, everything like that. So in 3 days of open business, to turn over 400 from a kind of proof of concept based store is something that for me is very, very possible with the kind of skill set and the knowledge that I have. And it's something that now that I've seen it done in such a way, and if you read this article that's linked in the show notes, it's one of those things where you get a real itch to go ahead and do it, because you're like, I can do that. Like, I can definitely do that. So that's currently where I'm at and what I'm thinking, like, and not to copy their idea, but green teas and things like that is something that I do actually know about and something that I do actually enjoy myself. So I think, yeah, why not? I might as well just copy their idea very, very closely and just see what I can do with it.
Yeah, also another thing. The thing is with green tea, as it goes in 2015, it's actually growing in popularity quite quickly now.
Yeah, it's been growing for years, hasn't it? But it's one of those things where all of these kind of like healthy, almost new agey kind of things are starting to become mainstream now.
Yeah, very much so. Last couple of years, it's definitely taken a massive interest.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing a lot more independent coffee shops, which are more based around sort of green and herbal based teas.
Yeah, definitely. I was listening to, I was watching a documentary last night on Netflix called Ayahuasca. That's just a title. It hasn't really got like a subtitle or anything like that. It's pretty easy to find. I think there's only about 3 of them that are on there, and that's the one that's just labelled Ayahuasca.
Self-explanatory then what it's about, or
pardon?
It's about other stuff then, or just ayahuasca?
It's just ayahuasca, and it's a really rational documentary, because they're not like, just selling it to you. They're like, yeah, these are normal people that go in there, they're expecting, their lives to just miraculously change, and some of them realize that it isn't like that. Like, it takes a lot of like repetition with this kind of stuff.
Westerners or
Westerners, yeah. So it's filmed from a Western perspective, and it's very. The reason I'm bringing it up is because it goes hand in hand with this stuff. There's almost like, with the advent of the internet becoming like super, like more commonplace than any other kind of product that there's ever been. People are starting to talk, and the real truths of life and existence are starting to come up more and more. And things like ayahuasca and green tea and all of these like seemingly new age things are actually more, as you kind of learn in this documentary, they're more true to what being a human is than all of the other, like our material wealth and all that kind of stuff that is basically just a product of post, 1500s Western Europe kind of civilization.
Yeah.
And now obviously like the standard bearer of that kind of lifestyle is obviously America. And now, because they have such an impact on media, a lot of people think that's a normal way to live, and it's like humans have never lived this way. We've always had some kind of like psychedelic partnership or psychedelic relationship to the world around us, things like that. And in this documentary, they really make like a rational case for that. They're not like Terence McKenna goes way too far with it. It's very rational and very grounded, and the people that go there are, one of them is like a natural health therapist, which obviously is, for some people is kind of like, oh, but yeah, she's already a hippie. And it's like, no, this one was like very, very science grounded. There was an accountant and then a guy who'd basically just given up his Western life to become a shaman. And it kind of followed the 3 stories of those people. But,
interesting.
Yeah.
So there weren't any like celebrities or anything cliche?
No, nothing like that. No, there was no like Joe Rogan coming on and just it's fucking this, man, it's fucking that.
Rogan, just giving his own Joe Rogan something.
Yeah, but no. So yeah, I mean, if it's good with you, if you want to do like a kind of 15-20 minute podcast talking about an e-commerce store, like what would you want to do with it? Like if you were going to do one, that kind of thing. It's like what you kind of know. So obviously, I've got useful information that the average person would enjoy listening to, I think.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure, we'd gain value from just talking to each other about this. So,
definitely
obviously, you haven't had a chance to read the article, but I'll kind of give a brief outline of what it's saying. I did read this like a week ago now, but it's still kind of fresh in my mind. Basically, the article talks about a an online business technique called drop shipping, and it's not just it is exclusively online. You can't do this in real life. Basically, the way that it works is you set up a web store, an e-commerce store, and you sell products on someone else's behalf. The person whose products you're selling on your behalf, they handle all of the delivery, the customer care, that kind of stuff. All you do is handle the sales, and you get a small percentage of that product sale. So, for instance, say you're selling a $100 product. You may get 20% of the sale for handling all of the upfront, marketing, things like that. It's basically affiliate marketing, but you have yourself an e-commerce store rather than, just an affiliate link or whatever it is that you may be doing. So in this article, what happens is basically the Shopify guys, they get themselves a Shopify theme. So we'll link Shopify below so you can kind of understand what that kind of service is. Basically, Shopify handle the whole e-commerce process for you. They handle hosting, they handle the actual store kind of coding, things like that. So you don't really have to do anything. The only thing you need to be focused on is driving traffic to that site. Now, that's something that with my kind of main business, which is called webmoneytutor.com, that's something that I'm focusing a lot on. Like, how are people in modern times driving traffic to websites, driving traffic to e-commerce stores, driving traffic online to real world customers? And so obviously that's quite a difficult and broad field, but it is something that now I feel I have a fair grasp on, and it's something that I would really like to jump in now, like 2-footed, and actually start getting real world experience. So that's that article. That's kind of like the general premise of this podcast tonight. So quick one with Arif.
Yep.
What do you think about the kind of tea market in general? Like, do you have any kind of experience of it, anything like that? You're aware of, is it a good market to go into, or what would your
in terms of awareness,
assumptions be?
Yeah, in terms of awareness and my own assumptions, the sort of market for green tea and herbal teas has definitely sort of grown interest over the last 4 or 5 years, especially more so in the last couple of years now. So you're starting to see a lot more independent coffee stores and shops who are specifically marketing that whole green tea and the whole herbal tea movement.
Yeah.
Also, even in all the sort of commercial coffee stores, stuff like Starbucks and Costa and things like that in the UK, they're all starting to deliver all the green and herbal tea options. So yeah, I think at the moment, as the market goes, it's definitely a right time to sort of launch something like this. Because
it's a growing market. I mean, for me, the main thing that I'm thinking about is traffic generation. I mean, finding products to dropship, it may be a bit difficult, but ultimately there's companies out there that are willing to do it, as Shopify just proved. But for me, it's where would you go to get traffic for a business like that? So in the article, they do Reddit. They go on a few random other sites and they generate, trickles of traffic here and there, but ultimately it results in very few sales. The vast majority of their sales, like some of the people that I've interviewed for webmoneytutor.com, comes from Facebook advertising. So I don't know, like,
that's the right way to go.
It's the way to go about it these days, isn't it? I mean, Google advertising is so saturated that you pay so much money for so little return. I mean, not all the time, but in my personal experience, I used to run a cleaning company, and I was advertising for carpet cleaning, and I didn't set the advert up right, didn't really look at, I was quite amateur in the way that I approached it, and I ended up burning through £200 in less than 24 hours, and it did generate me 2 new customers, like my website did convert, things like that, but ultimately, those 2 customers only just covered that £200 fee, so it would have worked, but it scared the hell out of me that within less than 24 hours, that I went to bed, woke up in the morning and had like an email, and a voicemail on my phone from people who'd been through the Google ads into my website, but to see that happen in what was about 13 hours, that £200 had just gone, like that was it, spent. And I hadn't, obviously recouped those costs. I had to go to the customer's house and actually earn the sale, things like that. Like, for me, that was way, like, such a scary scary experience.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, at least you learned from it. So
Yeah, I mean, big time, big lessons. I mean, that's the thing. It's better to learn them young. I mean, that's kind of where I've got to now with just kind of trying stuff out. But I think this for me is kind of like my first actual real foray into the field that I really want to get into. So I'm kind of not just I'm not apprehensive. I'm more just approaching it with a more mature mindset. Like I'm not ready to just go running in without any kind of like proof and evidence of like, okay, if I do this style of advert, it's going to get, you know, relatively decent returns. You know, the profit's relatively high. It should cover the cost if X, Y, Z.
the ground running.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
the best way to do it, really.
Definitely.
Yeah, just try and make the right decisions early on, and then that would sort of pay dividends, really. No, I mean what you're saying is definitely correct in terms of Facebook. I mean, there's more of a shift on SMO as opposed to SEO, the whole social media optimization. Because the thing is, with this, with this kind of product, you know, there's a massive health kick going on at the moment. So, I mean, what better way to promote it than social media? Because everyone's on social media. You got picture sharing.
That's it, isn't it? I mean, that's exactly it. Like, where are you spending the vast majority of your time now? Like, you're not randomly wandering around Google trying to find a cool website. Everyone's on Facebook. Do you remember, like, pre-Facebook internet? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I can remember it, yeah.
What did you do? Where were you?
Well, yeah, it was all, yeah, actually, now you're putting me on the spot here. I think, I say I remember, but now I'm trying to think about it. Yeah, it was all, like, just, I suppose back then it was, like, Google.
Yeah, so like do you remember pre-MySpace?
No, not really.
So I think I came onto the internet.
Like 4chan, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so for me, when was 4chan? 4chan was 2003, so I was 2004 when I found 4chan and eBalm's World and, you know, Albino Black Sheep, all those kind of websites. I don't know if Albino Black Sheep's even alive anymore, but that was like one of the big sites.
Yeah,
Miniclip back in the day. That was like a big one. God, man, it's so funny because kids these days, I mean, kids that are like 15 now will have no idea what we're talking about currently. You know what I mean? They've literally never grown up in a world without, like, you know, instant Facebook, instant MySpace, Bebo, all that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? By the time they came of age and were like, oh, can I play on the computer? It was like instantly. Do you know what I mean? Just
there's only like a few places to go. So yeah, we couldn't spend like forever because there wasn't that much to do. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like it wasn't as captivating as it is now. Like,
no, I remember back in the day when it was dial-up. Like my mum would say, "All right, you guys can go on for 2 hours," and then I remember I'd have to split that 2-3 hours or whatever it was with my younger brother. But the thing is, within the time frame I was given, I'd done everything I needed to do, and that's it. So, all right.
Yeah, that's true. You updated your MySpace background, changed the MySpace audio track.
Yeah, it's audio track, do your coding.
Yep.
Change the background's done. You know, message your mates.
Yeah, that's that was life back then.
Yeah,
it's not so simple anymore, is it?
Exactly. Play that Yeti game on Miniclip. Done.
Mate, yes, the Penguin game.
Yeah, the Penguin and the Yeti, whatever it was.
Yeah, we had like a baseball. Mate, that game was quality. We'll have to link that in the comments. I used to fucking love that game. Yeah, it's like he like swings around a penguin and he swings around a bat and then hits a penguin or something. Then I can't remember what the game was.
Brilliant, yeah.
Man. Oh no, MSN Messenger. That's where it was at.
MSN Messenger, yeah.
That was like, was that pre-MySpace?
That was.
That's gone now, you know. MSN Messenger doesn't exist anymore. Do you know that?
Yeah.
They literally pulled that service like 2-3 years ago. Like that was life back in the day. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, can I get your addy? Like when you're talking to girls and things like that, oh, can I get your addy? Like what? Facebook chat killed that so quickly.
You have all your mates.
Do you remember when Facebook chat was really, really buggy? Like nobody would use it because it was like you'd try and talk and it was like fuck your computer up really fast. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
it used to come up as a separate window. Do you remember that? Like when it first came? God, man. We've seen things, bro. We have seen things.
Yeah, I know. Back in the day on MSN Messenger, where you get kids who like all their busy mates and stuff, all on your username. You've got all your mates, best mates for life.
Yes. Yep, I remember that. And you remember you could send like it used to just be smileys, but then you could like shake each other's screens. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Like send the screen shake if, and then there'd be like a sticker comes up or something will kiss your screen, and people used to do it non-stop all night. Like, do you know what I mean? It was all night, just fucking sending these fucking random animations to your screen.
Yeah, I remember all of that. Yeah.
Kids were badass, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember like. My mum would be checking if I'm doing my homework or not. You have to quickly hide the screen.
Yeah, mate. I learned Alt and Tab like back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Alt Tab, mate. But hey, what, mum? I'm working. I've got homework tonight. It's internet homework. Did you have to do that? I've got internet homework tonight.
Yeah, I've got internet homework. No, you can't. No, I need to go on the phone. No, wait.
Oh god, yeah, you couldn't even use the phone when the internet was on. Mate, this is hilarious. You know, like kids that grow up now are actually pretty screwed if you think about it, because they won't understand where it came from. Do you know what I mean? Like and it's like with computers. Like I can remember when computers were pretty basic. You know, like pre-Windows 95. Do you know what I mean? Like I can remember before that, and I used to mess around back then so much. I used to break it all the time. I used to end up in NDOS mode and was like, oh, what's happening? Where am I? But because I've seen that progression into what it is today, I'm not so scared to go, you know, yeah, shit, I could learn to code, you know what I mean? It's not too difficult.
Yeah,
like, you can go quite, because you know where computers have come, it's not so hard for you to go, you know, pre-Wi-Fi, pre-whatever, and then to, like, reverse engineer what is currently Wi-Fi, what is, you know, like, satellite technology, things like that.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So kids these days, I think they have quite like a mind-expanding, I don't know, would it be like an adventure, or... They have some, well, basically, from the womb, they're going to be confused pretty quickly. Do you know what I mean? Because everything's a given. It's like, oh, Wi-Fi, it's just Wi-Fi. We've always had Wi-Fi. Like, they've never grown up in a reality where that never existed.
Yeah, I remember, like, back in the day, I was like a surgeon at Windows. Only because you couldn't go on the internet all the time, but I'd still end up on the computer just doing stuff, you know?
Yeah, mate, man, like, I was a paint god, mate. Yeah, I painted God on paint and broke the computer. No, that happened.
Oh yeah, back in the day. Anyway, we were talking about Shopify.
When we went well off track there.
What was it? I was going to say something relevant as well. Yeah, so it's all about SMO and like social media optimization.
I think for me, like, not to put all my eggs in one basket, but I am basing this entire business model, and I will be tracking it through Web Money Tutor so everyone can follow along. I will be just purely Facebook advertising focused, because I've had some experience of it in the past. I do relatively know my way around it. I'm, like, you know, not amateur at it, but I have read enough and actually had enough practical experience of it to be like, yeah, I think I can make that work. So,
I remember what I was going to say now. If I just you said about blowing £200 in the space of one day.
Yeah.
The thing is, with Facebook advertising, one, you've definitely got the concentrated user base, and two, you can set your budget to whatever you want. So
yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, you can do that on Google Advertising, but I messed it up. I didn't think. I think I bought max bid because, like, I just couldn't get anywhere close. It was like nine quid for a bid.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like,
I mean, like,
you know, my average job for carpet cleaning was like £110 at that time. I was like, £9's nothing, you know what I mean? It's less than 10% of a sale, but I didn't think that's just any click, you know what I mean? Every click doesn't mean a sale. I think I must have got like 40, 50 clicks, and before you know it, that's 200 quid just gone. It's like, oh, like, you've got to pay that right then and there. Well, end of the month, and I was like, geez Louise.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't think...
scary stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No. I don't think you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Well, you could think of it like that, but it's the basket that's got the most. Well, it's the biggest part. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the basket with "put your eggs here" written on the side.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm quite looking forward to getting involved in this. Obviously, I'm away for the next couple of days at a wedding, but when I come back, I'm going to just kind of start, you know, really looking into this and tracking every single part of it with Web Money Tutor. And then obviously once it starts to work, you find the model that works well, you then just branch out into different fields. I mean, there's loads of people that do this kind of stuff anyway, but ultimately the process is the most valuable part of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, getting hands-on experience of business, even if you're not, you know, making a killing or making a full-time living for yourself, is that experience is the most valuable thing.
Yeah, but understanding how it works. Shopify and dropshipping, it's becoming one of the more popular sort of platforms on the internet anyway. So it's just a lot more convenient. You don't have to hold stock.
Yeah, I mean the drop shipping model is the dream. That's the laptop dream that everyone talks about. But ultimately, it's not as easy as those online gurus. Which technically I am one now. They kind of paint that picture. Do you know what I mean? A lot of them go, I work on a beach, I trek mountains in my spare time, and I just work from my laptop and make a killing. It's like, yeah, but that's not really the truth, is it? And you're not talking about the 5 or 6 years you spent broke as a fucking joke,
Exactly.
living from paycheck to paycheck in a constant state of like heightened survival anxiety while you try and figure this whole game out. Do you know what I mean? And I think, it's fair enough. It is an industry and, people have to sell the dream in order to try and actually get you to the valuable content in the first place. So I don't hate on the people that say, I live on a beach and, just live with my Mac and that's my life and I make $79 million a month. It's like, okay, that's your shit.
It took a long time to get there.
Yeah, it took a long time and it took a lot. Like, I think for me, like, so obviously the last episode was about depression. I think one of the big things that a lot of entrepreneurs don't really take into account when they kind of choose this kind of lifestyle, which I assume a lot of people who would listen to this kind of a podcast would be that kind of mentality, is that your emotional resilience has to be higher than your physical resilience. Like sitting down at a desk all day, that doesn't sound like too bad. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's alright, just get to sit down. But then after a while, you're like, wait, I'm starting getting ill here. Do you know what I mean? I'm not getting too healthy. But that's not even like a tenth of the real kind of problem and the pain of being an entrepreneur. I mean, there's a price for everything. There's a price for going to work and having a healthy job. It's boredom and like dissatisfaction with your life. And when you're an entrepreneur, the price you pay is heightened anxiety a lot of the time, a lot of major insecurity, which is obviously linked with that anxiety and is probably the cause of that anxiety, in that that if you don't do XYZ today, you put it off till tomorrow, you'll literally miss the paycheck that you need to pay the bills and not just keep the lights on, but in some cases, and particularly my own, like keep your place. You know what I mean? Like keep your flat, keep your apartment, your house. Like I'm quite fortunate that I don't have kids or any kind of major responsibilities, because that would be impossible. I'd have to get a very serious job to live that kind of a life, and I would never want that for my own life. So I've chosen the entrepreneurial life, and I've kind of only very recently come to grips with what that means. And it's this kind of, you have to develop like a fearlessness, and a fearlessness to like everything, not just to business and asking for sales and things like that. It's a fearlessness to life in general. You've got to just be like, you know what, fuck it, I want that, and I'm going to go out and I'm just going to get it, regardless of who's in the way saying, well, it doesn't please me that you will have X. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I agree with that. Yeah.
It's like Gary Vee, who we listen to, who's like a born and bred. He's like made to be an entrepreneur. People like that are like, they're almost like a hardened warrior. Do you know what I mean? They're kind of like a warrior in that they have their armor and their shield on, and they've seen enough battles now to not even think of them as anything. They just consider it life. And I think for all like the new recruits who are like trying to join that kind of a world, the emotional impact that it takes, I think that takes a lot of people back, and that's I would say is the main reason why a lot of people quit, and they quit just 1 month or 1 year too soon. You know what I mean? Exactly. You've got to go through this like horrible state where you're squishy and you're not strong and you've not got the resilience of the other more experienced warriors or whatever.
No, yeah, I've always thought that like not everyone can be an entrepreneur. You need to have that resilience, you need to have that spark, and if you're not going to make it, you need to have that resilience, all the sort of pieces that makes up the puzzle that is an entrepreneur. And if you don't, then well, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of those things. Like I never really had the confidence. I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but when I came out of uni and got my job in London and was very secure, I never really had the confidence to be like, okay, when do I do it? Do you know what I mean? It was going to be one of those things I'd put it off, and 20, 30 years down the line, when I'm probably in some really cushy managerial position, or whatever happens when you just toe the line for that amount of years, I'd be completely dissatisfied with my life. Now, I was fortunate in that one of like my big role models, which is my girlfriend's mum, who has her own business, who's just like a straight hustler. Like, she doesn't give a fuck. She just does what she needs to do. She gets the job done. She makes her own business, and she makes like a pretty awesome life for herself. But I got to live with her, and I got to really see what it is, and I saw that it's literally just fuck what people think and just do what you want to do. So you know what I mean? A lot of people live in this state of constant like, oh, but they'll judge me. They think I'm stupid. It's like this podcast. Like, I'm not oblivious to the fact that people will find this cringy. I'm not oblivious to the fact that this is a weird and unusual thing to do, and I'm not oblivious to the fact that it's the exact type of thing that you're putting your kind of social standing, your social reputation on the line, because people are looking at it and be like, it's very easy to pick holes in something, and it's like super easy to pick holes in it when it's just the start. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is cringy. You know what I mean? Like, what are they doing? Why are they spending their time doing that? But 100 episodes later, where we have a fan base and, you know, people actually really respect what we talk about, they gain a lot of value from what we're saying. It's a very professional kind of outfit. The story changes, and then they're like, oh, you know, he's my mate. You know, I've always known this guy. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, he does that famous podcast. You know what I mean? I'm not. But if you were holding off people's opinions, these fickle opinions that change constantly. I mean, my opinions of people change constantly depending on what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? And I think if people are holding off, you know, I hope Dan doesn't judge me for this. It's like, that more for you, because I'm going to judge you regardless. And if you do well, I'm going to be congratulating you. If you fail, I'm probably not. Like, that's just human nature. But you just got to do what's right and what's honourable for you, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Cool. But yeah, I mean, at the moment we are just kind of finding our feet with this podcast. We are just testing out basically just softwares, different avenues and different ways to record these. We don't particularly, we understand that we're not producing, you know, a huge amount of content, a huge amount of value in these. We are just basically having chats that we kind of normally have, and just kind of putting them out on the internet and just seeing what we think of them initially. But if you are interested in anything that does come up in these podcasts and you'd like to get involved in the Brain Collective community, which is obviously much bigger than just a podcast, it's kind of a kind of social movement that's starting to build up with intelligent young people that are kind of disenfranchised with the way society's working and kind of want to do something about that. So if you are interested in that, if that kind of like resonates with you, we do have a website, which is braincollective-podcast.com. So if you go there, sign up, get on the mailing list, we can find out who you are, you can find out who we are, and we can obviously get chatting and maybe have you on the show sometime. So hopefully you've kind of had a pleasant experience listening to this podcast, if anyone at all is listening to it ever. Not just us in the future laughing at our past selves. But yeah, I mean, unless you've got anything to add, Arif, I'll wrap it up.
No, that's it really. It's our first podcast. We're just giving it a go. Yep. So yeah, if anyone is listening, then just sort of give us a benefit of the doubt. We're just starting off here, so it might sound cringy, it might sound amateur, but you know, we've got to start somewhere. So
that's very true.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we do have at least one listener. But you know, we're going to get better basically as we go on. So
of course, yeah, second episode, and we'll see where we are by December. But yeah, I'm going to end that there. So see you guys next time. Peace out.
Catch you later.